My name is Emma Catherine Hayes, 19 years old. I've been the family ghost for as long as I can remember. The invisible daughter. The one who understands. The one who doesn't need things because Connor, my golden child brother, needs them more. I got used to it. What I didn't get used to was this: waking up after emergency surgery to find that the only person who stayed wasn't family at all. Or so I thought. July 21st, 2025, 7:16 p.m. My parents leave me on a gurney with a breathing tube because my brother has a championship game. I can't speak, can't move, can't cry. 7:28 p.m. A doctor walks in, not my assigned surgeon. He reads my chart, sits down, takes my hand. "Don't worry, Emma," he says. "I've got you." He stayed through my surgery, through recovery, through the night. My parents came back 18 hours later with my brother's trophy. The doctor was still there. Then my mother saw his face and everything changed. That's when I learned my entire family was built on a secret. Our living room had 14 trophies on display, all Connors. Basketball mostly. A few from football camps, 6 team photos in frames. 3 jerseys mounted on the wall like religious artifacts. My mother dusted them every Sunday. There was one photo of me in that house, my high school graduation. Not framed. Stuck to the fridge with a magnet shaped like a basketball. It had been there for a year. The corners were starting to curl. I looked at it every morning when I got milk for my coffee. I wondered when it would fall. I wondered if anyone would pick it up. Mom liked to tell visitors, "Connor's our star. Emma, she's the steady one. Doesn't need the spotlight." Steady. That was the word they used. Sometimes it was mature, sometimes understanding. All of them meant the same thing: invisible. The money told the real story. AAU league fees ran $2,800 a year. Elite training camps in the summer, another $5,500. Private skills coach this year, $6,200, which my parents borrowed from the bank at 9% interest. My college fund? Zero. I worked 2 jobs. Target, 3 afternoons a week and Saturdays. A coffee shop, Sunday mornings. I paid my own phone bill, my own gas, my textbooks. The Columbia application fee came out of my Target paychecks. When I got the acceptance letter in April with a full scholarship, I hid it in my desk drawer for 3 weeks before I told them. My mother looked at the letter like it was a bill she couldn't pay. "That's wonderful, honey, but Connor's senior year is next year. We need you home. Just defer 1 year, you understand. Family comes first." I asked, "What about my future?" She smiled, the same smile she gave difficult customers when she still worked at the hospital. "And Connor is our family's future. 1 year, Emma. Don't be selfish." The email from Columbia's Office of Admissions sat in my inbox. Decision required by August 1st, 2025. Deferral available, but scholarship not guaranteed for deferred students. I opened it every night. I never typed a response. The deadline was August 1st. It was now July 21st. I was 12 when I learned what I was worth to them. Saturday afternoon, June 2018. I was riding my bike to Emma's house. My friend Emma, we called her Emma B, to avoid confusion. A pothole I didn't see. The bike went sideways. My wrist hit the curb at a bad angle. I called my mom. She was in Ohio, 4 hours away. Connor's AAU team had made the regional finals. She told me to call an Uber to urgent care. She'd Venmo me the money. I sat in the waiting room for 3 hours. My wrist was swelling so badly the receptionist asked twice if I wanted them to call someone. I said my mom was on her way. It was easier than explaining. The X-ray showed a complete fracture. The doctor put me in a cast. I signed the discharge papers myself. The bill was $3,200. Insurance covered half. Mom said she'd handle the rest. I got a text from her at 11 that night. "Hope you're okay, sweetie. Connor's team won semifinals." The next week, Connor came home with a gold medal. Mom asked me, "How's your arm?" Like she was asking about the weather. I said, "Fine." She said, "That's good. You're so mature, Emma, not dramatic like other girls." I kept the X-ray film. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted proof that it had happened, that I'd sat alone in that waiting room with my arm turning purple while they cheered in an arena 4 hours away. The timestamp on the film read 1642, June 3rd, 2018. The visitor log section was blank. July 2025 arrived like a held breath. Connor's AAU Championship Tournament was scheduled for July 23rd. 8 Division I scouts had confirmed attendance: Duke, UNC, Kentucky, UCLA, Gonzaga, Villanova, Michigan, Kansas. This was it. This was Connor's shot. My parents talked about nothing else. Dad printed out scouting reports on Connor's competition. Mom made a spreadsheet of Connor's stats. They hired a sports nutritionist to plan his meals for the week leading up to the game. I was expected to film it. Dad asked me at dinner, "You'll be there, right? Front row? We need good footage for the highlight reel." I had a shift at Target that night. I said I'd try to get it covered. Mom said, "Emma, this is important." I said, "I know." What I didn't say, I'd gotten an email that morning, a reminder from Columbia, 10 days until the decision deadline. "We're excited to welcome you this fall." I had a draft saved in my email. "Dear Mom and Dad, I'm going to Columbia in August. I can't stay anymore." I'd written it 3 weeks ago. I'd never pressed send. Every night I opened it, read it, closed it. I told myself I'd send it after the championship game. After the scouts made their offers. After Connor's future was secure. After I stopped mattering even less than I already did. The week before the tournament, the house became a training facility. Connor's sleep schedule was sacred. No noise after 9 p.m. No visitors. I tiptoed through my own home like an intruder. His meal plan was posted on the fridge: organic chicken breast, sweet potatoes, specific vegetable ratios. I made my own dinners, usually ramen, sometimes peanut butter sandwiches. The grocery receipt from that week told the story. 8 bottles of Gatorade Glacier Freeze, 4 pounds of organic chicken, protein powder, $80 for the large container. Total, $312. I'd asked for shampoo. Mine had been empty for a week. Mom said, "Wait until next month. We need to watch the budget." I stood in the shower that night, squeezing watered-down shampoo from the bottle, thinking, 9 more days until August. Connor yelled at me the night before the game. I'd bought the wrong Gatorade, red instead of blue. "Are you trying to mess me up?" he shouted. "I need the electrolyte balance. The blue one has different sodium levels." I said, "Sorry." He said, "God, Emma, this is my future. Can you take anything seriously?" I didn't remind him that I'd worked a double shift that day, that I'd driven to 3 different stores to find his specific brand of protein powder, that I'd stayed up until midnight washing his practice uniforms because he'd forgotten to mention they needed to be clean. I said, "I'll get the blue ones." Mom hugged Connor. "She didn't mean it, sweetie. She's just stressed about her own stuff." My own stuff. That was what they called Columbia. My full scholarship to an Ivy League school. My own stuff. July 21st started normal. I worked the afternoon shift at Target, 2 to 6 p.m., standard restocking, customer service, nothing special. My coworker, Jessica, texted me on my break. "See you tomorrow, Emma. Good luck with the fam stuff." The fam stuff meant the championship game. I'd agreed to come. I'd gotten my shift covered. I told myself it was just one night. Then I'd send the email. Then I'd be free. I clocked out at 6:02 p.m. I got on my motorcycle, a 2019 Honda I'd bought with money from my jobs, since my parents needed the second car for Connor's practices. The ride home was 20 minutes. I'd done it 100 times. The intersection of Maple and Fifth Avenue. I stopped at the red light. I was thinking about the game tomorrow, about filming Connor, about watching my parents beam with pride at someone who wasn't me. The light turned green. I started my left turn. I remember the green light. I remember a horn. Then nothing. The police report said it was 6:18 p.m. when the Ford F-150 ran the red light at 60 miles per hour and hit me on the driver's side. I don't remember the impact. I don't remember the sound of metal or the feeling of the pavement. I remember waking up in the back of an ambulance. Someone was cutting my jacket off. Someone else was saying words I couldn't understand. The siren was so loud, then darkness again. St. Catherine Medical Center. Emergency room, 6:35 p.m. I know this because I read the report later. I wasn't conscious for my own arrival. The ER doctor did an ultrasound, ruptured spleen, grade 4 liver laceration, internal bleeding, more than 2 liters. My blood pressure was dropping, 80/50 and falling. The doctor's voice on the recording, they record everything in trauma bays, was calm and clinical. 19-year-old female, blunt force trauma, grade 4 splenic rupture. Survival 60 to 65% without immediate intervention. They called my emergency contact, my mother's cell phone. It rang 4 times before she answered. 7:04 p.m. My parents arrived. I was drifting in and out. The pre-op area, bright lights, cold. Someone was starting an IV. Someone else was talking about consent forms. I saw my mother's face. She looked worried. That was something, I thought. She looked worried about me. She held my hand. "Oh, baby, you're going to be fine. You're so strong." Dad stood farther back. He didn't look at me directly. He was looking at his watch. The doctor explained. Emergency surgery, life-threatening bleeding. They needed to operate immediately. 65% survival rate if they went now, much lower if they waited. My parents signed the consent form. The timestamp read 1904, July 21st, 2025. Then Dad's phone rang. Connor. I couldn't hear what Connor said, but I could hear Dad's side of the conversation. "She's in pre-op now. Yeah, it's serious. They have to operate." A pause. "I don't know. They said a few hours." Another pause. Dad looked at Mom. "He's asking if we're still coming to the game," Dad said. Mom looked at me, then at Dad, then at her phone. I saw her check the time. "The game starts at 8:30, she said quietly. "It's 7 now." Dad said into the phone, "Connor, we'll call you back." He hung up. They stood there in silence for maybe 30 seconds. The nurse was prepping the breathing tube. The anesthesiologist was checking monitors. I was lying there watching them think. Mom leaned down. She put her hand on my forehead. Her fingers were cold. "Your brother has a game," she said. "You understand." I tried to speak. I couldn't. The breathing tube was already at my mouth. Dad patted my hand. He still wasn't looking at me. "Be a good sister." They left. The timestamp on the ICU camera footage, which I obtained later as part of my medical records request, read 19:16:33. 2 adults exit room 4. I was alone. The lights were too bright. The monitoring equipment beeped. The anesthesiologist counted down. 10, 9. I thought, this is it. This is how much I matter. Then the door opened. 7:28 p.m. A man walked in. Navy scrubs, surgical cap, maybe 50 years old. Salt and pepper hair underneath the cap. Tired eyes, but sharp. Capable. He picked up my chart. He read every page. His badge said, Dr. A. Hendricks, trauma surgery. The nurse said, "Doctor, this patient's family just..." He interrupted. "I know. I'll take this case. Prep OR2. The nurse looked confused. "But you're off duty until..." "Prep OR2, he repeated. Not angry, just certain. He sat down next to my bed. He took my hand. His grip was warm, steady. "Don't worry, Emma," he said. "I've got you." He knew my name. I'd never seen him before in my life. The anesthesia pulled me under. The last thing I saw was his face. The last thing I heard was his voice, low and calm. "You're going to be okay. I promise." I don't remember the surgery. I know it lasted 2 hours and 26 minutes. I know they removed my spleen. I know they repaired a tear in my liver. I know I received 3 units of O-negative blood. I know Dr. Hendricks was the primary surgeon, even though he normally only consulted on difficult cases. The surgical notes say, Dr. A. Hendricks performed emergency splenectomy with concurrent liver repair. Patient stable post-op. Transferred to ICU 2218. What the surgical notes don't say, Dr. Hendricks never left. While I was in surgery, my parents were at Riverside Sports Complex. Connor's game tipped off at 8:30 p.m. My mother posted on Facebook at 8:43, "Our boy is on fire tonight, #ProudMom." Connor scored 28 points. His team won, 76-71. The scouts were impressed. Very impressed. My family went to IHOP afterward to celebrate. They posted pictures. Connor with his MVP trophy, Dad with his arm around Connor, Mom beaming. Someone commented on the photo, "Where's Emma? She must be so proud." Mom replied, "She's home resting. Big day tomorrow." I wasn't home. I was in the ICU, still unconscious, still alone. 10:35 p.m. My mother remembered me. She sent a text. Not a call, a text. "Connor won. How are you?" The message showed as delivered. Not read. I was unconscious. At 11:52 p.m., she sent another. "Call me when you wake up." She didn't call the hospital. She didn't check with the nurses. She went to sleep. Dr. Hendricks stayed. The ICU visitor log, which I requested later, shows one entry for the night of July 21st. Dr. A. Hendricks, staff override, 22:35 to 2:14. Relationship, attending physician. He sat in a plastic chair next to my bed from 10:35 p.m. until 2:14 a.m. Almost 4 hours. Still in his scrubs, he fell asleep there around midnight. A nurse found him there when she did the 2 a.m. check. She wrote in her notes, "Dr. Hendricks remained with patient overnight. Family request?" Then, in parentheses, "No family present." I woke up at 11:20 a.m. on July 22nd. Everything hurt. My abdomen was on fire. I had a breathing tube down my throat. They removed it while I was still groggy. I had an IV in each arm, compression stockings on my legs, a catheter. The room was empty. A nurse came in when the monitors registered that I was awake. She smiled. "Oh, good. You're awake. How do you feel?" I tried to speak. My throat was raw from the tube. "Where's my family?" She hesitated. "They called earlier. They're on their way." I looked at the clock. 11:20 a.m. I'd been out of surgery for 13 hours. They arrived at 1:15 p.m. Connor came in first. He was carrying his trophy, the AAU Championship trophy, large, gold, engraved. Mom came in behind him, followed by Dad. Mom rushed to my bedside. "Oh, sweetie, we were so worried." She was wearing makeup. Her hair was freshly styled. She looked like she'd slept well. She didn't look like someone who'd spent the night terrified in a hospital waiting room. Dad hung back by the door. He didn't meet my eyes. Connor set the trophy on the table next to my bed, right where someone should have been sitting all night. "Look, Em," he said. "We won. This is for you. You inspired me." I stared at the trophy, then at Connor, then at my mother. "You weren't here," I said. My voice came out hoarse, weak. Mom squeezed my hand. "We knew you'd be fine. Dr. Hendricks called us last night around 10:30. He said the surgery went perfectly and you were stable. So we stayed for Connor's game. He needed us there." "Who is Dr. Hendricks?" I asked. Dad spoke for the first time. His voice was tight. "Your surgeon, old colleague of mine." I looked at him. "You're an electrician. It's complicated, he said. Don't worry about it. Mom changed the subject quickly. When can you go home? Connor has practice tomorrow and we need to. I almost died, I said. She blinked. But you didn't. See? Everything worked out. They stayed for 40 minutes. Connor complained about being hungry. Dad suggested they grab lunch. Mom said they'd come back that evening. But actually, Mom added, Connor has a skills session at 4, so maybe tomorrow morning instead? They left at 3 p.m. A nurse came in at 3:15 with discharge planning paperwork. Not actual discharge, I'd be here at least 2 more days, but preliminary information. The form listed my primary surgeon, Dr. Andrew Hendricks, MD. Andrew. His badge had said A. Hendricks. I'd assumed it was an initial, but now I saw the full name, Andrew Hendricks. I asked the nurse, Is Dr. Hendricks still here? I want to thank him. She checked her tablet. He's off today, but he left something for you. She handed me a note, handwritten on a prescription pad. Emma, you did great. Rest well. A.H. The handwriting was neat, precise. The kind of handwriting that comes from filling out thousands of medical charts. I held the note and tried to remember his face, tired eyes, salt and pepper hair, the way he'd said my name. Don't worry, Emma. How did he know my name before he looked at my chart? That evening, alone in my room, I did what any 19-year-old would do. I Googled him. Dr. Andrew Hendricks, St. Catherine Medical Center. The results were sparse. A staff directory listing. Dr. A. Hendricks, trauma surgery, joined 2018. No photo, no biography, no social media, no news articles. I tried variations. Andrew Hendricks, surgeon. Andrew Hendricks, trauma. A. Hendricks, doctor. Nothing. In 2025, that was strange. Everyone had a digital footprint, especially doctors. Hospital websites loved to promote their staff. LinkedIn profiles, conference presentations, published papers. Dr. Andrew Hendricks had none of that. I remembered what my father said. Old colleague. An electrician and a trauma surgeon don't have colleagues in common. A different nurse came in for the night shift, younger, chattier. I asked about Dr. Hendricks. Her face lit up. Oh, Dr. H is a legend here. Super quiet guy. Keeps to himself, but when he takes a case personally, she whistled. Unstoppable. He stayed with you all night, you know. Personally? I repeated. She nodded. Yeah, like family or something. Most surgeons hand off to the residents for overnight monitoring. Dr. Hendricks doesn't do that unless... She paused. Well, unless it matters. You're lucky you got him. After she left, I pulled up the visitor log on my patient portal. I had access to my own medical records, including the ICU sign-in sheet. July 21st, 10:35 p.m. to 2:14 a.m. Dr. A. Hendricks, staff override. Staff override meant he didn't need anyone's permission. He chose to stay. A stranger chose to stay with me while my family chose a basketball game. I stared at that note again. Rest well, A.H. Something was wrong, not wrong like dangerous. Wrong like incomplete. I didn't know what yet. I went home on July 24th. My parents picked me up at 2 p.m. Connor wasn't there. He'd already left for a 3-day training camp with his team. They helped me upstairs to my room. Then Dad had to go back to work. Mom had to run Connor's gear to the camp facility. Call if you need anything, Mom said. I'll be back by dinner. I heard her car pull away at 2:47 p.m. I was alone in the house. For the first time in my life, I was grateful for it. I waited until I was sure they weren't coming back. Then I went to the basement. Our basement was where old things went to die. Boxes of Christmas decorations. Broken furniture Dad kept meaning to fix. Files. So many files. I found the box labeled Legal Docs 2004 to 2010. Sharpie marker, faded. Inside, mortgage papers. Connor's birth certificate. Hospital bills from when Connor was born. Insurance documents. and a yellow envelope, unsealed, no label. I opened it. The first document was a divorce petition. Laura Bennett Hayes petitions for divorce from Andrew Michael Hayes on grounds of abandonment and incarceration. Filed September 12, 2006. My mother had been married before, to someone named Andrew Hayes, and she'd never mentioned it. The petition requested full custody of a minor child. Emma Catherine Hayes, born March 3, 2006. Me. I kept reading. Court stamp. Granted. November 2, 2006. Custody awarded to Laura Hayes. The second document was my birth certificate, not the one I'd always seen. A different one. Emma Catherine Hayes, born March 3, 2006. Mother, Laura Bennett Hayes. Father, Andrew Michael Hayes. Andrew. There was a second birth certificate beneath it. Amended. Issued 2007. Father, Daniel Hayes, by adoption. Daniel, my dad, the man who raised me, had adopted me, which meant Andrew Michael Hayes was my biological father. The third document was an adoption petition. Daniel Hayes petitions to adopt Emma Catherine Hayes, daughter of Laura Hayes, formerly married to Andrew M. Hayes, currently incarcerated. Granted, March 2007. Currently incarcerated. My biological father had been in prison. The last item in the envelope was a newspaper clipping. Old, yellowed, folded into quarters. I unfolded it carefully. Local man sentenced to 12 years in embezzlement case. The article was dated August 14, 2006. Andrew Michael Hayes, 31, was sentenced to 12 years in prison for embezzling $125,000 from Morrison and Associates accounting firm. Hayes maintained his innocence throughout the trial, but was convicted based on testimony from colleague Daniel Hayes, who reported the discrepancies to management. Daniel Hayes, my father, my dad, had testified against Andrew, had sent him to prison, then married his wife, and adopted his daughter. I read the article 3 times. There was a handwritten note in the margin, black ink, small, precise handwriting. Daniel lied. I didn't do it. AMH. The handwriting matched the note from the hospital. Rest well. AH. Andrew Hayes, Dr. Andrew Hendricks. Andrew. I sat on the basement floor, surrounded by papers. My hands were shaking. My surgical incision ached. I didn't care. I pulled out my phone and searched Andrew Michael Hayes released prison. One result. A news article from September 4, 2018. Man exonerated after 12 years. Evidence fabricated in embezzlement case. Andrew Michael Hayes, 43, walked free from state prison yesterday after investigators discovered that evidence in his 2006 embezzlement conviction had been fabricated. Daniel Hayes, the key witness against Andrew Hayes, was found to have forged signatures and falsified financial records to frame his colleague. The state has issued a formal apology, and Andrew Hayes will receive compensation for wrongful imprisonment. When asked for comment outside the courthouse, Hayes said, "I hold no grudge, I just want my life back." The photo showed a man walking down courthouse steps. Thinner than the arrest photo. Hair grayer. Tired eyes. The same eyes I'd seen in the ICU doctor. Andrew Hendricks was Andrew Michael Hayes, my biological father, who was sent to prison by the man who raised me. I searched for more. Medical license database. Dr. A. Hendricks, legal name change from Andrew Michael Hayes, MD, trauma surgery, licensed, 2020. Name change petition, public record. Andrew Hayes petitions for legal name change to Andrew Hendricks to avoid stigma associated with criminal record, expunged. Hendricks. I searched obituaries for Hayes family. Found one from 2015. Margaret Hayes, 71, passed away peacefully, survived by sons Daniel Hayes and Andrew Hayes. They were brothers. Daniel and Andrew were brothers. My dad was my biological father's younger brother. I couldn't breathe. Daniel had stolen from the company, framed his older brother, sent Andrew to prison for 12 years, then married Andrew's wife, adopted Andrew's daughter, erased Andrew from existence, and when I was dying on an operating table, Andrew came back, not for revenge, to save me. I searched Andrew Hendricks St. Catherine hired, found a staff newsletter from 2023. St. Catherine Medical Center welcomes Dr. A. Hendricks to our trauma surgery team. St. Catherine, the hospital where I was born, the hospital where my mother used to work as a nurse from 2004 to 2008. Andrew had chosen to work at the hospital where his daughter was born. He'd been there, this whole time, waiting. I searched Daniel Hayes' business, found it. Hayes & Sons Electric, LLC, registered 2008. Initial capital, $120,000. $120,000. The embezzlement amount was $125,000. My dad had opened his business with stolen money. Money he'd framed his brother for stealing. Everything. The house, Connor's camps, the AAU fees, the private coaches. All of it built on Andrew's 12 years in prison. I searched Andrew Hayes settlement, public record. Andrew M. Hayes receives $186,000 in wrongful conviction settlement, 2019. I searched for any connection to that number, found a trust fund. ECH Educational Trust, established 2019, beneficiary, Emma Catherine Hayes, upon reaching age 21. I pulled up the public filings. The trust held $203,500 as of 2025. Andrew had taken every penny of his wrongful conviction settlement, 12 years of his life, and put it in a trust for me, a daughter he'd never been allowed to raise. My phone buzzed, a text from Mom. "Hey sweetie, running late? Dinner will be around 8. It was 6:30 p.m. I looked at the papers spread around me. Birth certificates, court documents, newspaper clippings, a trust fund I never knew existed. I took photos of everything, uploaded them to a private Google Drive folder. Then I put the papers back in the yellow envelope, put the envelope back in the box, put the box back on the shelf. I went upstairs. I made myself dinner. Ramen, because we were watching the budget, and I waited for my parents to come home. July 25th, 10:30 a.m. I heard the garage door, Mom's car, then Dad's truck. They came in through the kitchen. Connor was with them, back from camp. He was talking about some drill they'd done, some college coach who'd watched. I walked downstairs. I was carrying the yellow envelope. I set it on the kitchen table. "We need to talk." Mom saw the envelope and went pale. Dad stopped pouring his coffee. His hand froze. Connor said, "What's that?" I opened the envelope. I spread the documents across the table. Birth certificate, divorce papers, newspaper clipping, adoption records. "Everything you hid from me for 19 years, I said. Mom's voice came out small. "Emma, where did you find those?" "Basement," I said. "You should have hidden them better, or maybe you didn't think I'd ever look, because I'm so understanding." Dad set down his coffee mug. "Connor, go upstairs." Connor didn't move. "This sounds interesting." I pointed at the newspaper clipping. Andrew Michael Hayes, my biological father, sentenced to 12 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. A crime you, I looked at Dad, committed, and blamed on your own brother. Dad didn't deny it. He just stood there. "Exonerated 2018, I continued. "Evidence fabricated. By you." Mom's eyes were wet. "Emma, it's not that simple." "Then explain it," I said. "Make it simple." Mom sat down. Her hands were shaking. "Andrew and I got married in 2004, she said. "You were born in 2006. But Andrew, he was obsessed with exposing corruption at the firm. He was going to lose his job. We had a baby. I was terrified." "So you left him," I said. "Daniel offered to help," she said. "He said he'd take care of us. And he did." "After he sent his brother to prison," I said. Dad finally spoke. His voice was flat. "Andrew was going to bring the whole company down. I did what I had to do to protect the family." Protect the family, I repeated. You mean protect yourself. You stole that money. $125,000. Then you opened a business with it. Dad's face hardened. That was 20 years ago. 19, I corrected. I'm 19. The same age as your lie. Connor had been listening. He shrugged. So what? That's ancient history. Move on, Emma. I turned to him. You were raised on stolen money. Every camp, every coach, every trophy. All of it came from a crime. He rolled his eyes. I didn't ask to be born. Not my problem. You left me dying on a surgery table for a basketball game, I said quietly. It wasn't just a game, Connor shot back. It was scouts, my future. I could have died, I said. But you didn't, he said. He sounded bored. You're fine. You're always fine. You're Emma, you understand. Something in me cracked. I almost died alone, I said. 65% survival rate. They put a breathing tube down my throat and I looked at my parents. You walked out to watch him throw a ball. Mom was crying now. The doctor said you were stable. Dr. Hendricks, I said. Did you know who he was when the hospital called? Dad looked away. You knew, I said. You recognized his voice, and you still left. Connor's future was on the line, Dad said. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I pulled out the visitor log. I'd printed it. Dr. A. Hendricks, 10:35 p.m. to 2:14 a.m., 4 hours. He stayed 4 hours. I set it on the table next to the other documents. Family? I read from the log. 0. Emma, Mom started. He stayed, I said. A man who didn't owe me anything, who lost 12 years of his life because of what you did. And he stayed. We made a choice, Mom said. We chose Connor's opportunity. You chose yourselves, I said. You chose your fantasy of who Connor might become. You chose not feeling guilty about what you did to Andrew. Because if I'd died, and you'd been there, if you'd chosen me, you'd have to face what you are. I picked up my backpack. I'd packed it that morning. Where are you going? Dad asked. To find my father, I said. My real father. Connor laughed. You'll come back. You always do. I looked at him. Really looked at him. I didn't see my brother anymore. I saw a stranger in a basketball jersey, holding a trophy he thought made him matter. No, I said. I won't. I called an Uber from the driveway. While I waited, I sent a text to a number I'd found in the St. Catherine's staff directory. Dr. Hendricks, this is Emma Hayes. I know who you are. Can we talk? The response came before my Uber arrived. Of course. When? Today? I'll be at Morrison's Coffee at 2 p.m., corner of 5th and Elm. Morrison's. The same name as the accounting firm. I wondered if he chose it on purpose. I'll be there, I typed. The Uber pulled up. I got in. I didn't look back at the house. Morrison's was a small coffee shop near the hospital. Quiet. Dark wood. The kind of place where people had serious conversations. Andrew was already there when I arrived. Table 7. Corner booth. He was wearing jeans and a button-down shirt. Civilian clothes. He looked older in daylight, more tired. But his eyes were the same, kind, careful. He stood when he saw me. Emma. Dr. Hendricks, I said, then, or should I say Andrew? He gestured to the seat across from him. Just Andrew is fine. I sat down. I put the yellow envelope on the table. I know everything, I said. He looked at the envelope, then at me. He took a slow breath. I wasn't sure you'd want to see me, he said. I didn't know you existed until 2 days ago, I said. They told me my dad was my dad. They never mentioned you. I know. You spent 12 years in prison for something you didn't do. Yes. Your brother framed you. Yes. Your wife left you and married him. Ex-wife, he said gently, but yes. And you still saved my life. He met my eyes. "You're my daughter, Emma. That doesn't change because of what they did." I felt something crack in my chest. "Tell me," I said. "All of it." He told me. He and Daniel grew up poor. Andrew was the older brother. He protected Daniel, helped him get a job at Morrison and Associates when Andrew was working there as a junior accountant. In 2005, Andrew discovered Daniel was embezzling. Small amounts at first, then larger. Andrew confronted him, begged him to stop, to return the money. Daniel refused, said the company owed them, said they deserved more. When the audit happened, Daniel panicked. He altered records to make it look like Andrew had accessed the accounts. He testified against his own brother. Laura, Andrew's wife, pregnant with me, believed Daniel, or wanted to believe him. She was scared. They had a baby coming and no money. Andrew went to trial. He maintained his innocence. No one believed him except his mother, who died in 2015 still believing her oldest son was innocent. He served 12 years. In 2018, a routine audit at Morrison's uncovered the truth. Daniel's digital fingerprints on the forged documents. Evidence he'd fabricated. Andrew was released, exonerated, compensated $186,000 for 12 years of his life. "I didn't want revenge," Andrew said. "I just wanted my life back." "Why did you become a doctor?" I asked. "I was pre-med before the accounting job," he said. "I dropped out to help Daniel pay off student loans. After I got out, I went back, finished my degree, did my residency. It was what I should have done from the beginning." "And you chose St. Catherine?" He nodded. "It's where you were born. I thought maybe I could be close to you, even if you never knew." "Did you follow me?" He hesitated, then nodded again. "I kept track of you however I could. Public records, school announcements, your friend Emma's Instagram, she tagged you sometimes." He pulled out his phone, showed me a photo, my high school graduation, a candid shot someone had posted publicly. "I followed every milestone I could," he said quietly. "The trust fund," I said. "That was you." "Every penny of the settlement," he said. "I couldn't give you 18 years, but I could give you a future." "And the scholarship? The Hendricks Medical Education Scholarship?" He smiled a little. "You found that. You set it up for me." "I set it up for students like you," he said. "But yes, I hoped you'd qualify." I thought about the Columbia acceptance letter, the full ride, the scholarship that appeared out of nowhere. "You've been my guardian angel," I said, "and I didn't even know you existed." "I failed you for 19 years," he said. "I'm just trying to make up for lost time." "You didn't fail me," I said. "They did." His hand was on the table. I reached out. I took it. "I want you in my life," I said. "I don't want to wait until I'm 21. I want my dad. Now." I'd never seen a grown man cry before. Not really. But Andrew's eyes filled. He didn't look away. "I've waited 19 years to hear that," he said. We talked for 3 hours. He told me about prison, about studying in his cell, about the day he was released and the world had changed. Smartphones, social media, everything different. About going back to medical school at 43, about being the oldest student in his class, about working twice as hard because he'd lost so much time, about getting his license, changing his name to avoid the stigma, starting over. I told him about growing up invisible, about Connor's trophies and my fridge magnet, about Columbia and the email I couldn't send. He listened, really listened, the way no one in my family ever had. When I finally asked the question I'd been holding, "Why didn't you ever try to contact me before?" He looked down at his coffee. "I was terrified you'd reject me. Or worse, that you'd be happy with the life Daniel and Laura gave you, and I'd ruin it. I thought staying away was the right thing. But when you saw my name on the trauma board, I stopped thinking," he said. "I stopped being the careful, rational person I'd trained myself to be. I was just your dad, and my daughter needed me." "You stayed," I said. "All night. I couldn't leave you alone." he said simply. He asked where I was staying. I hadn't thought that far ahead. I have a 2-bedroom apartment, he said, near the hospital. You can stay as long as you want, or I can help you find your own place, whatever you need. I didn't hesitate. I want to stay with you. He smiled, the first real smile I'd seen from him. Welcome home, Emma. We drove to his apartment. Small, clean, sparsely decorated. The second bedroom was set up as an office, but he said we could get a bed. It's not much, he said. It's perfect, I said. That night, we ordered pizza. We sat on his couch, plain, beige, probably from IKEA, and watched a medical documentary he'd been meaning to see. It was the best night I'd had in years. 2 days later, we drove to Manhattan, to Columbia's admissions office. I confirmed my enrollment, pre-med track. The advisor asked for a parent's signature on the financial documents. Andrew signed. Father/guardian. The advisor looked at the paperwork, then at Andrew. Congratulations, Dr. Hayes. Your daughter is joining an incredible class. Andrew looked at me. I looked at him. Yes, he said. She is. On the drive home, I texted my mother. I'm not coming back. I have a new address. She didn't respond. August 2025. Andrew filed a petition to restore his parental rights. Now that he was exonerated, it was legally possible. He also provided the IRS with evidence about the 2005 embezzlement, emails Daniel had deleted but Andrew had saved, financial records, testimony. The IRS opened an audit. If proven, Daniel faced fraud charges and 20 years of back taxes. Daniel called Andrew. I was there when the call came in. Andrew put it on speaker. Please, Daniel said, let it go. It was 20 years ago. Andrew's voice was calm. You took 12 years from me. I'm just taking back what's mine. He hung up. In September, my mother filed for divorce. She wanted to separate her assets before the IRS seized everything. But it was too late. The house, the business, the bank accounts, all frozen pending investigation. She moved into a studio apartment, $900 a month. She texted me twice asking to talk. I didn't respond. I wasn't ready. In October, the NCAA opened an ethics investigation into Connor. Recruitment violations. Not because Connor did anything wrong, but because the family finances were under federal scrutiny. Schools pulled back. Duke withdrew their interest. UNC did the same. Villanova. All of them. Connor texted me once. This is your fault. You ruined my life. I blocked his number. A local news site ran the story. Local basketball star loses scholarships amid family scandal. I read it. I didn't feel satisfaction. I just felt sad. Sad for a kid who was never taught that being good at basketball didn't make you good. August 15th. 2 weeks before I left for Columbia. Andrew and I went to dinner, a small Italian place. Nothing fancy. Red checkered tablecloths, candles and wine bottles. We talked about everything. About my classes, about his surgeries, about the future. I missed your first word, he said. Your first steps, your first day of school. I can't get those back. You didn't miss everything, I said. You were there when it mattered most. You stayed. He reached across the table, took my hand. I don't want to miss anything else, he said. You won't, I said. I promise. The waiter brought the check. Andrew paid. He kept the receipt. Later, I saw him write on the back. First dinner with Emma, August 15th, 2025. August 28th, Columbia move-in day. Andrew helped me pack a U-Haul. I didn't have much. Clothes, books, my laptop, the X-ray from when I was 12, the note he'd written me in the hospital. We drove to Manhattan together. John J. Hall, room 511. My roommate was from California. Bright, cheerful. She saw Andrew helping me set up my desk and said, "Your dad seems really cool." I looked at him, he looked at me. "Yeah," I said. "He is." Before he left, Andrew handed me a photo in a frame. It was from the day I'd shadowed him at the hospital in October. Both of us in scrubs. both smiling. "For your desk," he said. I put it next to my laptop. He hugged me. "Call me any time. I'm 2 hours away." "I know," I said. "And that's enough." September, first day of classes. I met with my pre-med advisor. She asked about my goals. "Trauma surgery," I said. "Why trauma?" I told her a version of the truth. Not all of it, but enough. "My father saved my life when I was dying," I said. "I want to do that for someone else's daughter." She smiled. "That's a powerful motivator. You'll make an excellent doctor." October. I went home for a weekend. Home. That's what I called Andrew's apartment now. I shadowed him on a Saturday shift. A car accident victim. 23 years old. Critical condition. I watched him work. Calm. Precise. Gentle with the patient. Exactly the way he'd been with me. After the surgery, he took off his mask. "What do you think? Still want to do this?" "More than ever," I said. "I want to be like you." He put his hand on my shoulder. "You already are, Emma. You're the strongest person I know." November 18th, 2025. I got an email from the family court. Parental rights restored effective November 18th, 2025. Birth certificate amended. I printed the amended birth certificate. Father. Andrew Michael Hayes. Rights restored 2025. I framed it, hung it on my dorm room wall. I called Andrew. "Dad," I said. "I can call you that legally now." I heard him take a breath on the other end. "Yeah," he said. His voice was thick. "You can." Thanksgiving 2025. I went to Andrew's apartment, just the two of us. We cooked together, or tried to. Neither of us was very good. The turkey was dry, the stuffing was lumpy, the mashed potatoes were somehow both too thick and too runny. We laughed until we cried. We took a selfie, both of us grinning, both of us happy. I posted it on Instagram. Private account. Just close friends. Caption. First Thanksgiving with my dad. 19 years late but right on time. December 2025. Final week of the semester. I had an essay due for my English class. Write about a defining moment in your life. I wrote about July 21st. About the night my parents left me and a stranger stayed. I wrote, "I used to think family was who raised you. Now I know better. Family is who stays when staying costs them everything. It's who fights for you when you can't fight for yourself. It's who chooses you every single day." My professor gave me an A+. She wrote in the margin, "Powerful and deeply moving. Thank you for sharing." I'm writing this in my dorm room. It's late December. Snow is falling outside. I have my final exams in 2 days. Then winter break. I'm going to Andrew's apartment, going home, for 3 weeks. My phone buzzes. A text from Andrew. "Dinner this weekend? I'm cooking. Badly." I smile. I type back, "Can't wait, Dad." I used to think family was who raised you. I thought it was the people who fed you and gave you a roof and taught you to tie your shoes. I thought it was biology, or obligation, or proximity. Now I know. Family is who stays when staying costs them everything. It's the person who sits in a plastic chair in an ICU at 2 in the morning because they can't bear the thought of you waking up alone. It's the person who puts every penny of their wrongful conviction settlement into a trust for a daughter they're not allowed to see. It's the person who chooses you, not out of duty, but out of love. Connor had mom and dad for 16 years. I had them for 19. Andrew had me for one night. But that one night defined everything. So I'll ask you something. Who stayed for you when everyone else had somewhere better to be? Who chose you when choosing you was hard? And if no one did, whose life can you change by being that person? Because here's what I learned. Family isn't a noun. It's a verb. It's not who you're born to. It's who shows up. It's who stays. My name is Emma Catherine Hayes. I'm 19 years old. I'm a pre-med student at Columbia University. And I finally know who my father is. Not the man who raised me, not the name on my first birth certificate, but the man who stayed when I needed him most. The man who chose me. That's family. That's everything.